Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni. Good morning.
Good morning, Ruben. I'm not going to join you to celebrate poverty. Well,
there are implications.
Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Victoria. Tundu MK Abiola. Those of you who want to celebrate poverty, you can go and celebrate.
There are implications.
You are no longer number one. You are at the bottom. You are number two. And you want to celebrate.
Number two.
I won't join you.
We are not first on the list again.
Good morning. Let's start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. The lead story. First time in 22 years of democracy, Senate goes against agreement reached with sitting president as lawmakers throw out Buhari's request to amend contentious clause 84, which abridges constitutional right of appointees to vote and be voted for. Well, this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record is recalling that in 22 years of our democracy, and in democracies elsewhere, when legislators reach agreement with the president, they keep it. But is this a matter of breaking an agreement? Other newspapers are also reporting this story. Let me just look at other newspapers' headlines on this issue before I make further comments. The Guardian newspaper, Electoral Act Amendment. Lawyers, others hail as Senate rejects Buhari's request. Senate gradually asserting its independence, says Adegborua. It's victory for democracy, Awakalu. Lawmakers should be commended for rising above being rubber stamp. Ogbankwa declares, time not ripe for further amendment of Electoral Act. Pius insists, rejection in tune with demands of Nigerians, says CNPP. Yes, the failure of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill to scale the second reading yesterday meant the end of President Buhari's quest to expunge Section 84, Clause 84, Section 12 of the Electoral Act 2022. Now, the president wanted this, and it was part of, was it an agreement or an understanding? Yes, the president met with the leadership of the National Assembly. Whether the National Assembly leadership carried its members along is another matter altogether. But there was this understanding that when the president signs the bill into law, then they will go back and do the needful. Delete. That was the word being bandied. Delete the vexatious clause. But what happened yesterday was the legislative process, because that bill scaled first reading, but second reading, it had a resounding no. Now, if the president cannot restrict the legislation to even amend just one section, recall that when the president refused to sign the first time, it was just one issue. The issue of restricting parties to direct primaries. But in the process of amending that, of course, the legislators can amend any other aspect or add any other clause, which they did. So do we have to go on and on? Because what's the guarantee that when the legislators even delete this vexatious clause, they won't add something else? It is within their prerogative to amend anything they want to amend within the law. So whoever came up with that ingenious, I don't want to call it trick, to get the president to sign first and we'll do other things later. Other things have been done, and the legislature has said we are not going further on this. Well, the president can represent. No, nothing stops him from representing an amendment. Yes. So we just go to other stories quickly. Now, the Daily Trust, of course, writing on this same story, as Senate rejects Buhari's request, Amechi, Malami, Ngige, others in tight corner. mandated to resign before party primaries. Lawmakers violate understanding with President Carey. No time frame for appointees to resign. SAN. Ruben, you addressed this, saying that the Constitution already addressed some of this issue earlier. Well, if you want to run, resign. Go and run. Nobody is stopping you from running. But if you want to sit in government and be running and be campaigning with government funds or whatever, then there is a problem. Recall that in Delta State some time ago, the governor, Ifeanyi Okowa, had to sack some of his commissioners, including the then secretary to the government of the state, because he felt their politics, their politicking was distracting his administration. So if people want to run, let them just go, leave government, go and campaign, go and canvass for votes from delegates. That is the position of the law now. Now, the Punch newspaper, Buni's lawyers, rebels colluded to procure judgment-stopping convention, Erufai. Yes, Erufai, saying Buhari, 19 governors behind removal, support Bello as new chair, Kaduna governor. Buni refused to implement Reconciliation Committee's recommendation, alleges Erufai. APC governors stabbing sick Buni in the back, alleges caretaker's secretary, Akpanudo Edehe. Well, Buni is clearly on his way out. Has he been removed? Well, when he comes back from his trip in Dubai, I'm sure he will have one option, either to resign or to challenge his removal. But like Akpanudo Edehe said recently, if the president wants him to resign, he will resign. After all, the leader of the party. Now, the Business Day newspaper, Russia-Ukraine war, stoking Nigerians' rising living costs. Russia war with Ukraine is causing turmoil in global markets on account of massive repricing of commodities due to supply chain disruptions. And we're also feeling the impact in Nigeria. Now, the foreign newspapers quickly. Now, the Times of London, aiming at mothers and babies, according to the Times. Russia missile hits hospital, maternity and children's ward. Refusal of no-fly zone complicity. Zelensky is telling the West. Now, while the Daily Telegraph newspaper is reporting Russia plotting chemical attack. Serious concern in the West that Putin's invasion could reach new severity with the Syrian-style assault after the airstrikes hit maternity hospital. Ruben, Rufai, and Tundu.
He's threatened to use nuclear weapons and has not in any way tried to clarify.
He only put
or
his
retract.
nuclear commanders on standby.
Yeah, but that's a threat.
No, but that's a
and he
threat.
has not tried to clarify or any kind of, toning down of the rhetoric. Nothing. It's quite the opposite. And the report there actually says that Russian propaganda machines within the Russian Federation are reporting that Ukraine is the one that's planning to use nuclear weapons. But Ukraine has, surrendered their nuclear weapons since the 90s. So that's obviously a lie, which is why I called it propaganda. So it looks as if he is setting up from some kind of massive escalation, and it's extremely worrying because, I've told you how I feel about it.
Okay.
Nuclear Armageddon. We're all going to be affected one way or another.
So now, I'd like to piggyback on your point. So sorry, Dr.
No, go ahead.
There are intelligence reports coming out that he is gearing up to use nuclear weapon. He will also use chemical bombs because the game is already up against Putin. He's not be able to.
You assume?
No. These are intelligence reports coming out.
And
Fact-check, verified intelligence
you can't
reports.
put propaganda past the West also.
No. This is intelligence.
In war
Can
propaganda.
I land on my point,
Sure.
please?
Yeah.
So he has started by using thermobaric bombs, which are very, very great magnitude. He has started by using cluster munitions. The next thing he will use is chemical weapons because he's not been able to make incursions into Ukraine. And there's been a big resistance on the fight back. And that's why he's attacking children's hospitals like he did in Mariupol yesterday and all of that. And that's why Zelensky, in the interview Zelensky granted Sky overnight this morning, was saying you need to cross the airspace But NATO and America are still trying to look at the possibility of that, because once you get the planes into Ramstein Air Base and America try to transport the planes into Ukraine, then they will have crossed the line, the Russians will attack them. But there are strong intelligence reports coming out about the fact that he's envisaging to use 1 kiloton bombs. The Hiroshima and Nagasaki incident were 15 kiloton bombs, but he's intending to use 1 kiloton bombs if he gets the chance, to make that effect and destroy. So there are intelligence reports out as regards that. He wants to fight dirty because he's got nothing to lose. Everything has not worked according to
There's so much to lose. Ukraine is behind Russia. It's just the backyard of Russia. It's not Hiroshima and America that...
All the way across
the
the
Europeans
world.
have always wrong-footed the rest of the world with small wars, okay? It starts in their backyard, it becomes a problem
Engulfs
for the rest
everybody.
of the world.
Yes.
That's what happened, First World War. That's what happened, Second World War. And we hope that the Europeans will not again construe themselves into the major problem for the rest of the world. That's my point on that. But I want to go back to the issue about the National Assembly. I think, again, in addition to what I said before, we need to remind ourselves that, yes, I agree with the view that the National Assembly will seem to have found its courage for the first time. Maybe there are other instances, but this probably is the most prominent instance.
In the Ninth Assembly.
In which the Ninth Assembly, has taken the decision to stand up to the presidency, to the executive arm of government. And I think they should be encouraged in that regard. You made the point that the president met with the lawmakers. No, he only met with the leadership.
Yeah, the leadership.
And the leadership has consistently shown that they are the ones that are the puppets of Aso Rock, not necessarily the rest of the body.
Who are those? The governors?
The case that was taken to court, on which Justice Ekwo gave a restraining order, was a PDP case. So the minority caucus in the National Assembly takes a different position. And from what transpired on the floor of the Senate yesterday, you could see that the majority of the lawmakers have an independent opinion about Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act 2022. What is that law all about? Again, it's about preventing conflict of interest. It's about providing a level playing field. Earlier on, I had quoted relevant sections of the Constitution, which already tried to address this problem, but did not go far enough. Section 137, Section 66, Section 82, and Section 107, with regard to positions from the presidency down to the State House of Assembly. The only thing they've done is just to say, no, you have to leave before the primaries, not 30 days, as those aforementioned sections will seem to indicate. And that way, if you leave before the primaries, then you will not have the kind of situation we had recently in Osun State, where Minister Aregbesola, I think, Minister Aregbesola, who as a Minister of Internal Affairs, was alleged to have gone to Osun with a retinue of civil defense, prison officials, to go and provide security for him. And the opposition, the Oyetola group, they said, look, how can a man come from Abuja and bring prison officials and civil defense people to come and intimidate? Okay, if he was not in government and he was going to be involved in that process, he was not even a candidate in the matter, he was just a stakeholder, then he would not be able to do that. So that's what these lawmakers are saying, that nobody should be given the opportunity to intimidate others. There should be a level playing field. So I don't want to use the word comment. I'm accused of overusing that phrase. The lawmakers, for making an effort to say, look, this is in the public interest. And what is in the public interest that will promote the common good of all Nigerians is something that all of us should support. And that is why over 70 civil society organizations came out and said, we stand by this National Assembly on this particular matter. Because the whole idea is to further deepen the democratic process, the electoral process in Nigeria, and to the extent that President Muhammadu Buhari says part of his legacy is to leave behind a transparent, fair, credible electoral process. To that extent, he too should be supported and encouraged to remain on that path and not be dissuaded. You cannot intimidate the president of Nigeria.
Yes.
I don't want to say.
So if you must use the word,
he should not be dissuaded.
Perhaps the whoever came up with the idea to tell the president, sign first and we'll amend later should be commended.
But that's commendable. And that was the best way to get the president to even sign it in the first place.
Because now we have an electoral law
yes,
that will guarantee to a great extent free, fair, and credible elections.
We can change it tomorrow.
Yes.
But let's test this one first, that the people say they want.
Yes.
And most importantly, people should stop trying to eat their cake and have it in their hands. You want to run, resign.